Hey everyone, this is Jerry with San Pedro Mastery. In my last video, which came out 2 weeks ago, I talked about the small containers that I'm currently growing outdoors under filtered sun. But I did not show you the other batch of containers with younger seedlings that I'm growing indoors. So today we'll be taking a look at those, and I will let you know what I think of the LED tube I have been using. At the end of episode 10 of this mini-series, I explained that my old T5 fluorescent light was on its last leg, and that I had replaced it by a LED tube of the same length, which is 4 feet. I also mentioned that the 18-watt LED tube seemed to have a much lower light output than the fluorescent T5. So after episode 10 was uploaded, I had to find a way to reposition the LED tube much lower. What I did is reuse part of the plastic frame from the cheap greenhouse that you saw in one of my old videos. I don't use that greenhouse anymore. The atmosphere in there was just too humid for the plant's liking. And this is how it looks. I actually like the looks of it. The LED tube was very cheap, about €4 if I remember well. For that price, it did not come with a power cable, so I reused the cable from an old bedside lamp that was broken. After using this LED tube for over a month, let's see how they have grown. We start by Pachanoi Costa times Bridgesii CLB3. If you have watched my previous video, which is episode 11, you will know that both these strains are super fast growers. 1 month of LED lighting doesn't seem to have affected their color too much. Some of them have a reddish bottom part, and that's absolutely nothing to worry about. Some strains are like that. By the way, these are going to grow some savage spines when adults, since both parents have 2-inch long spines. Here again we have Bridgesii CLB3. I'm growing quite a bit of CLB3 as it is a strain I find very interesting. Pachanoi Riels is also a fast grower, so that's another interesting combo. The color looks mostly right, though it has to be said it's only been 5 weeks under LED, and the plant's color may take a bit longer to adjust to the LED. This is the opposite of the previous cross. Here, Riels is the mum, not the dad, therefore the seedlings will inherit their traits mostly from Riels. Something very strange here are the spines. A lot of them are really tiny, almost invisible. It's gotta be said that Riels, as an adult plant, has extremely short spines. However, I did not expect such insignificant spines at this stage. Normally, San Pedro seedlings always have spines, even on spineless varieties. Not just that, but some plants appear to have more spines than others. Slightly different appearances between brothers and sisters can happen, but here it seems quite pronounced. This time it's the very bluish Pachanoi Francis, which is paired with Bridgesii CLB3. If I am growing several containers of Bridgesii CLB3, it's mostly to see if I get Caspitos monstrous seedlings from it. None of the plants here have multiple heads, but I think it's still too early. So far, I've been able to confirm that 2 CLB3 crosses are giving Caspitos monstrous seedlings. They are Costa times CLB3 and Sardaniola A3 times CLB3. But I suspect every single cross with CLB3 will produce these seedlings. What I don't know yet is what percentage. I can tell you already that these CLB3 crosses produce a lot less monstrous seedlings than the TPM-SPM crosses. However, there are different kinds of monstrous. Melted wax in the case of TPM-SPM, multiple heads in the case of CLB3. And by the way, most of the varieties that you can see in this video are available from me in the form of seeds, and sometimes even live seedlings. The live seedlings will be of course older than those you can see in this video, as these are still a bit too young to ship in my opinion. So if you are interested in buying some, please email me at the address that appears in the description of this video. I will also make it appear on the screen now. It's sanpedromastery@protonmail.com. So you send me an email mentioning which country you're from, and I will email you a list with prices and photos. Next, we have some younger plants. I cannot tell you exactly their age because I forgot to write down the date when they were sown. This is something I have to remember to do in the future. These were given to me by my buddy Suriel. He purchased them as Scopulicola. Scopulicolas look a bit similar to Pachanoi, but with 0 spines. And like I mentioned earlier, when they are seedlings, it's normal for them to have spines. You may notice that the soil doesn't look quite right, as if it didn't have perlite, but it does have perlite. In fact, it has the same ingredients as usual, but one of them can vary, and that is the local soil. I collected from a mountain nearby, but not always from the same spot. So it's quite possible that the local soil this time was different. I'm not sure if the plants are liking that soil, as quite a few of them are laying flat. If that happens to you, what should you do? Well, when they are that young, I would not attempt anything. The roots are connected to the soil, so they do get nutrients and water. I will just leave them like that for a while until they've grown a bit and build some strength. They may find a way to stand up without help. If not, I will eventually straighten them very gently. Unrooting and replanting them should just be used as a last recourse because young seedlings do not like that. This one was germinated under a fluorescent T5. I wanted the germination to be under a fluorescent T5 to make sure it germinates properly and fully. And then, as soon as the plants came up, I switched to the LED tube. So these have been entirely grown with the LED, and they look like they have received too much light as they are red. That means that the LED tube is probably positioned a bit too low as it is now. And that's one of the main issues I have with LED tubes. Unlike fluorescent T5s, there is no standard. They are all different from each other, different light spectrum, different light output, and you never know at what height it should be positioned. Of course, you can work that out, but it's a trial and error process. Whereas if you get a fluorescent T5, you know the height has to be 12 to 18 inch, with the ideal height probably around 15 inch, and you know the results are going to be perfect, with beautiful green plants that grow at the maximum rate. This one also has been grown entirely under LED, apart from the germination which was under fluorescent T5, and for some reason it has orange soil. The plants look like they are growing on Mars. I guess that color comes from the LED, since I've never encountered that in years of growing with fluorescent T5s. The plants, on the other hand, look a lot better than the previous container. I guess different strains or species react differently to the LED light. It could also be that the previous container was placed more directly underneath the LED, as LEDs have a much narrower beam of light than a fluorescent T5. I can see one red seedlings, and the rest is yellow to green. Bear in mind that yellow is not out of the ordinary for this particular variety, as Trichocereus IV seems to create a lot of variegated plants, therefore yellowish, when it is the mum and crossed with the Pachanoi. I could experiment more with that LED tube, but in all honesty, I'd rather go back to fluorescent, as it has no learning curve. It was straight out of the box, gives the plant a fantastic color, and most importantly, germinates the seeds without fail. I've only used that LED tube because my previous fluorescent T5 kept flickering, and I happened to have that LED tube in the house. Now, I have purchased a brand new fluorescent T5 light, and I will show it to you in a minute. I have now moved the containers downstairs in my apartment, in a room where I normally do DIY work. As you can see, the plants are squeezed between a compressor and a car bumper I'm working on. I will try not to knock the plants as I move around the room, because quite frankly, this setup could all tumble down very easily. It's just made of stuff I picked up in the street for free that people got rid of. This is a clothes hanger, and immediately when I saw it I thought, wow, that could actually make a decent lamp support. And it's adjustable in height. So if you don't want to drill your ceiling, and you're looking for a lamp support, this is actually a great choice. It's made by IKEA, and I've checked on their website, it's called Riga, and sells here in Europe for 17 euros. I'm sure you can get it in North America too. If you get a different hanger that is not adjustable in height, that can work too. You just have to hang the lamp with a chain or rope. As for the supports for the plants, I should have just used a small table that would have been more stable. But I didn't have one, so instead I used a couple of wooden trays with a board on top. It's very precarious. If you shake the whole thing, it will fall down. But it's only meant to be temporary. Now I'm sure you're wondering about the lamp. It's a light wave with 25 fluorescent tubes. I don't know if it's any better than any other similar lights. It's just that there were not a lot of them to choose from, and I kind of liked the looks of this one. Here in Europe, the fluorescent T5s are getting really hard to find. I don't know why that is. I ordered mine from a Spanish company called Servovendi. The website is servovendi.com, and I think they ship to other countries in Europe, or at least some of them. For that particular lamp, they were much cheaper than Amazon. If you live in the US, you won't have that problem. There are a lot of similar lamps available at a good price on Amazon and other marketplaces. For more information on the topic, I made a video recently explaining how to choose a fluorescent T5 light. So watch it if you haven't. T5 lights are all the same when it comes to color spectrum and light output. The only difference is the design and the quality of the lamp. This one actually feels like good quality. It's got a solid feel to it when you hold it in your hands. I like it. And by the way, I paid for this lamp. I am in no way sponsored by this brand. And the same goes for Servovendi. I have not been in contact with them. I'm just trying to share helpful information. I think that this kind of multiple tube lamps, where the tubes are boxed in a metal casing, are going to be much longer lasting than the more basic single tube lamps that are made out of plastic, like the ones I had before. Those have stopped to work one after the other, like I already mentioned in previous videos. On the contrary, this new light gives me the feeling it's going to last. This has 2 tubes, which is perfect for someone who just wants to start cactus from seeds and grow them like that for a few months, maybe up to a year or a year and a half. In a room with a lot of ambient light like this one, you will only need 1 tube to be lit. If I give one of the tubes a quarter turn, it will shut off. This way, it becomes a single tube lamp, without having to remove a tube. It would be ideal if there was a switch to do that, but that is not the case. The only switch turns on or turns off both tubes at the same time. And by the way, I'm not sure if this trick, where you turn off the light with a quarter turn, works with all the grow lights. That might depend on the way they are wired. So it may be a good idea to check with the seller if it can be used as a single tube lamp. Personally, I found this information by reading the feedback from buyers on the website. So, say you want to start some seeds under this light. You can start with 2 tubes for germination. It's always good to have plenty of light at that stage. Then, as soon as they have germinated, or that most of them have germinated, you can go back to a single tube. You'll be good for probably 6 to 9 months like this. Then, the plants may need more light and you can turn the second tube on, which may allow to grow them indoors for a few more months. Or even much longer if the plants are in front of a window with plenty of light. That's if you want to grow them indoors all year round. That is not my case. I just like to start them under lights because the conditions are perfect, and then afterwards I like to take them outside under filtered sun. If you can grow them outside, do that. You will save on electricity, and if you can set up your plants so that there is good airflow, that will keep the bugs away. Because as soon as the lids are taken off, the bugs are coming, and they can really thrive indoors with no air movement. The group of containers here is actually several inches wider than the tube itself, which is 2 feet. That's not a problem, you just have to take into account that the containers at each end will receive a bit less light. That's another advantage of growing plants in small containers as opposed to big trays. You can shuffle them around as you need. The containers with the oldest plants will go in the center, because that's where the light is the brightest. And those containing plants that are red will need less light than normal, which is why I have placed them at the corners, where they will receive the least amount of light. I don't know if you noticed, but the plants are a bit off-center. They are placed closer to the window. This is because they have to be centered underneath the 1 tube that is lit. And since that tube is the one towards the window, then I have pushed the plants in that direction. That's all for this video. I hope it has been useful. I will be back soon with more videos. I think some of them will be short videos showing you some of my adult plants. This has been requested by many subscribers. And keep in mind that if you want to support my channel, you can buy some of my seeds or seedlings grown from the same seeds. Just send me an email and I will reply. See you soon, my friends. Ciao, ciao.